Thank you very much. Hello? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so let us begin. The good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much for joining the side event in the morning time. My name is Barco Yamaguchi. I'm the manager for the transport and logistic division at the African Development Bank. So today we try to make it a little bit the new or the something for fun the session with audience, and and then a session to talk about the how to accelerate the transport decarbonization in Africa. We will cover all the cities of the subsectors in transport, and then to see that how we can decarbonize it the subsector by subsector. So we will have the excellent the expert the per subsector, and then most importantly we have the Minister Dugundane from Burundi as a keynote speaker. So let me first make a quick introduction of the speakers. So first let me introduce His Excellency the Minister Diodune Dugundane, the Minister of the Infrastructure, Equipment and the Social Housing of the Burundi. Let's welcome. Let's give us applause. And then we will have the excellent the industry expert from the different subsector and transport. Let me introduce first Mr. Camille Bourguignon, the technical officer from the International Maritime Organization, IMO. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And then we have the Mr. Peter Dale, from the head of the global sector, the transition, and the joint head of the Breakthrough Agenda Secretariat, UK Department for the Energy Security and Net Zero. Welcome, Pete. And then next one is the Mrs. Coretta de Luhamania. She's always, the supporters or the work together. She's the Deputy Executive Secretary from the Lake Victoria Basin Commission. Welcome. And the next one, Stefano. Oh, maybe Stefano is not here yet. Okay, let me skip. Next, the Miss Lucia Anderson. We always work together. She's now the director of the sustainability from the International Union of the Railway, UIC. Welcome. And then the next one, my good friend from Brazil, the Ricardo de Gorini. He's the head of the renewable energy transition roadmaps from the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. Welcome, Ricardo. And then lastly, one of the most important guests from the bank, who is the Anthony Okonyong. He's the director of the climate change and green growth from the African Development Bank. Welcome, Tony. Thank you. So this is the all lineup of the today's session. Just to give you some housekeeping and also the modality of the session. We try to, again, as I said, rather than just give each panelist a floor to just speak, we are having we prepared the 20 questions. Maybe we cannot do it all, but in theory, we give you 2 questions per panelist, and then based on the question is given to the audience through the Slido if it's work. If not, we will use just PowerPoint. And then after having the 30-second the thinking time, and then we will see the answer, and followed by the panelist or the speaker, minister as well, to give a relevant comment on that. If you want the introduce what you're doing, that's also fine. But please be reminded that you only have 2 minutes per question to answer, and then you have 2 questions per person. So meaning in theory you have 4 minutes to speak whatever you want. But if possible, please make a relevant, you comment to the questions. We try to make the question to relevant to your domain, but let's see. First, so just as the icebreaker, I prepared one question from my side, and so that let's see how it works. Can we move? And then so this is so please audience, please use your mobile phone and use this the QR code so that you can go to this Slido. And then again, the session is yours for you as the audience. Let me see. I do the same. Okay, let's see how it works. Oh, good, yes. So let's see. The first. Okay. So first question is. First question from my side. As an icebreaker, which sector is the largest contributor to the CO2 emission in Africa? So please, audience, put in the answer. I give you only 30 seconds. Amos, can you count it? Yeah. Okay, I do myself too. Okay, maybe we already. Oh, we are a bit late, so let's finish. Okay, how I can do this? To finish. I'm not sure how to finish this one. How to end. Oh. Transport send. Okay, it's a bit challenge for me. Okay, let's change to the PowerPoint. Sorry, unfortunately I'm not the expert of the technology. No, because I think because I joined as a guest, then I cannot control.
But you see the results on the screen. You see the results. The results.
Okay.
Go back to slide.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's use slide. Julian, yeah, let's use a slide then. Ah, yes. Okay. Okay, so this is the answer, but so this is just as icebreaker. So the answer is almost for sure. The transport is the most biggest. I think the 70% or the 85. I had the figure, but I didn't bring the paper. But anyway, transport is the biggest contributor to the CO2 emission. So this is the right session to conduct. So let's move to the next one. So I invite first the minister to come over here. Would you like to make some opening remarks? Yeah. So I give it for the minister for making opening remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marco, and dear colleagues. Greetings to everyone here. I'm Dieudonné Dukundane. I'm the Minister of Infrastructure, Equipment and Social Housing from the Republic of Burundi. I wish to thank the African Development Bank, COP29 organizers, and you all for attending this very particular session. Time is not on our side. I will try to be as short as possible. I'm glad of three things. Number one, that the narrative has changed. In the past few years, whenever someone was introducing railway or decarbonization or modal shift in Africa, there was this very particular question on or response in the sense that railway was not viable investment. But I'm glad that we have went ahead and we are no longer talking on that. The narrative has changed. It's not a matter of where it is needed or not. The modal shift is needed, and the only way to achieve this is to shift from roads to railway transport, mainly if we are to achieve significant results. Number two, I'm also glad that African countries this time we are walking the talk. It's not a matter of coming to meetings like this one, talk and we go. We should translate our strategic objectives in terms of decarbonizing transport into our respective budget. And to give you an illustration, in my budget as a Ministry of Infrastructure, 75% of it has been dedicated to railway investment, railway infrastructure. This is unique. It has never happened before, and that is why I said that we need this time to walk the talk. Number three. Now, I had a similar conversation 2 days ago, and there was this consensus that whenever we talk of decarbonizing, we are saying reducing dependence on fuel. And when you reduce dependence on fuel, what is the answer are you giving to the road transporters, to the truck owners, to all these people who are in this industry? Because when we talk of a modal shift, it means reducing the job opportunities, business opportunities for them. And for us to success into this, we should try as much as we can to bring everyone on board. We should strive to have a business model that is the most inclusive and try to see other opportunities that the modal shift offers. For example, if someone was owning a fleet of 100 trucks, and we tell him, bring on board the railway, and instead of buying 100 trucks, you buy 2 wagons, or you buy 1 locomotives, because the infrastructure will be there and will be open for operators. So by so doing, we are telling them that everything is not lost for you, but there is rather a sustainable and long-term perspectives. By the way, I buy a truck today, in the next 5 years, it is out of business. But if I buy a locomotive, it will stay there for 25, 30 years. So the three things are very key. I repeat myself, glad that the narrative has changed, glad that we are walking the talk. Governments are putting substantial money into their budget to finance infrastructure in railways. And number three, this understanding that we should not leave anyone behind. Otherwise, we will be creating ourselves bottlenecks. That was my entry point. Now, where do we stand as the continent, as Africa? I have been going through some literature around railway development, and you would agree with me that Africa has a lot to do when it comes to investment in the railway. We are only accounting for 2% in terms of the global freight. 2% globally. This is too little. we have got one of the outdated infrastructure and the poor maintenance in the railway. We have even out of the operational railway networks, only 70% of the network is operational. You see? Now, we have got one of the lowest density. Look, the continent, especially sub-Saharan Africa, has only 3 kilometers per 1,000 square. 3 kilometers of railway network per 1,000 square kilometers. While for South Africa, for example, they made some progress, they have reached 8%. And in Europe, they have reached 400 kilometers of railway per 1,000 square kilometers. What does it mean? Let me give you an example from my country, Burundi. We are not a big country, small country of the size of Rwanda and like others. Almost 30,000 square kilometers, 27 and something. When the report says that we only have 3 kilometers of railway network over a surface of 1,000 square kilometers, it means over 10,000 square kilometers, it is a 30 kilometer of railway. This is what we have. And over a surface of 30,000, nearly 30,000 square kilometers, this is the size of Burundi, then I take the 30 kilometers times 3. This is 90 kilometers. And as I stand here, we don't even have 1 kilometer. But fortunately, we are planning to build 100 kilometers starting from next year. So when I got this report, it truly speaks to the reality that if we only have 3 kilometers of railway over an area of 1,000 square kilometers, while in Europe they have reached 400 kilometers. Now you see the gap between 3 and 400. We can't even talk about it. So this is where we are, and I believe that some of these numbers really need to tell us a story. Let me make this very simple. We are talking of increasing intra-African trade. The Continental Free Trade Agreement, that is what it talks about. But how may I get a container from Dakar, from N'Djamena to Bujumbura? Almost impossible. Even if the road network was there. How much time would a truck drive from Mauritania to Dar es Salaam, to Lusaka, to Harare? Most impossible. And as we all know the geography of the continent, it's only through an improved and enhanced railway transport network that intra-African trade levels will go up. Maritime transport to some extent, yes, because we do have some inland waterways, but they cannot accommodate the 54 African countries on the continent. Now, we have got another challenge, and this is the third one, where the continent has got different railway gauges. We have got a standard gauge, we have got narrow gauge, we have got meter gauge, and most of these gauges, apart from the standard, are not electrified. They still depend on using fuel. Now, the response to this conversation was how to reduce dependence on fuel in the transport sector through the modal shift. Okay? Now, shifting into railways, while the existing railways still depend on fuel. Again, a bottleneck. But good enough, through the recent development and ongoing developments in Tanzania, Kenya, North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, we as a continent adopted that we should go standard. All the projected railway projects should be standard and electrified. This is the only way we will achieve the objectives ahead of us. Now, number 3. I started with what I'm glad of, the narrative that changed, you know, and now the challenges. And number 3, how how would we make it possible? Because the gap is huge, from 3 kilometers to 400 kilometers per 1,000 square kilometers, from 2% of freight haulage worldwide. You know, the duties ahead are just huge. And I suggest two things: that as the continent embarks on decarbonizing transport, we should put focus on two major areas. Number one, along the corridor, the regional corridors. We should try as much as we can to put money so that our regional corridors are decarbonized, that we build, let me be specific, that we build the standard gauge railway along our major economic corridor, our major transit corridors. Because when you look at the amount of fuel we are using on those corridors, 16 countries on the continent are landlocked. And some of these countries travel or a distance of a return trip makes between 3,000 to 5,000 kilometers. Imagine when you are doing a business, you have a truck carrying only 25 tons over a distance, a return trip of 5,000 kilometers. When and how can you be competitive on the international market? It can not only be possible. So we support the ongoing standard gauge railway developments along the central corridor from Dar es Salaam, Burundi, DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, Zambia, Malawi, along the northern corridor. We know some of these developments exist in West Africa. Along the regional corridor, this is where we should put much focus. Secondly, we should also decarbonize our urban transport. In urban areas, we use and consume a lot of fuel. Countries should develop metro services, for example. We are getting ready to start one in our country, and we are inviting investors to really come and sit together with us. We are ready to present how this project can be unique, because if I am consuming on a monthly basis nearly 30 million liters of fuel, meaning that spending 30 million US dollars every month. So by introducing the metro project, I will reduce almost 30% of this amount of fuel immediately. And this is a money-making machine. The good thing for transport, most of the things we don't ask grants. I mean, people can come and we develop PPP projects. People get back their money easily. In terms of funding, I'm ending my conversation. I'm suggesting that in addition to grant, we should be looking for concessional funding, climate funding, because some of these investments are heavy. We cannot leave everything to the private sector. Government should do their parts, and give a room for the private sector to also come on board. So I'm encouraging that we go for funding mechanisms that, will de-risk this investment altogether, because in the long run, we all benefit from this solution. So I talked mainly on road and railway. I know there are other experts from the maritime and the air transport. I'm from the maritime background myself. So I'm looking forward to exchanging views with you. But let us put numbers ahead. Business is there. Let us make it inclusive. Let us sustain the change in our narrative. If we do not invest in railways on the continent, let me tell you, we will still lag behind. We won't anymore be competitive on international market. Thank you very much for your kind understanding.
Thank you very much, Minister. That's very strong comment that we as FDB would love to partner, as always, with Burundi. Unfortunately, we are a bit late, and then one of the colleagues need to leave very quick. So, Minister, if possible, now that I want to invite faster, just a family photo. Maybe Camila, I'm very sorry, but if you need to leave, then maybe next time I give you a floor, but just take a picture with you. So And then Stefano now, you're right? So, yeah. Okay, okay. So just take the photo and then I give you a photo. Okay, maybe let's get the question and then you can.
I'll directly say a few
Yeah.
words of the lecture.
Yeah. So now the unfortunately the Kami have to leave. So let's keep the question for him, and then we just hear from him on this IMO's the policy on the decarbonization of shipping industry and what he's doing. I give you a floor and then, for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, and good day, everybody. Many thanks for your invitation. Good morning, Minister Dieudonné. Very nice to hear that you're from the maritime sector as well. Indeed, the maritime sector, so 3 points. I will follow your guidance, 3 points. The importance of the maritime sector in the world in general and in Africa in particular. Although Africa is today not the best continent in terms of connectivity to global markets through maritime services. Many projections, though, show that there's a huge potential for growth. So that means maritime sector, port sector is going to grow in Africa as the growth of the sector continues. But that means also that emissions will follow, growing emissions, and that's a concern. For a global sector like shipping, we need global rules, and that's where the IMO intervenes, because as a global sector, we have global regulations. And we agreed last year, African member states at the IMO agreed last year to the IMO greenhouse gas reduction strategy. So we're targeting net zero emissions from the shipping sector around 2050. And we're now embarked into turning this into real binding regulations for shippings. This will have an implication on how ships are designed, how ships are operated across the world, including in Africa. And third point, so the IMO is not a development bank, and we are not going to be a development bank, but we will always be ready to support building the case for maritime projects, because we know how important the maritime sector is to support sustainable development, socio and economic development and growth across the world. So I'll just take one example, because when we're talking about shipping decarbonization, energy efficiency is key in the short term, as for any transport mode, I would say, with specificities, obviously. But at some point, we need to shift to cleaner energy sources. And we are now embarked into projects in Namibia, in Morocco, in South Africa, and we are exploring other opportunities, including with ADB, with other partners, to see how shipping can not only be, a market for these future fuels, but in that way be a driver of the uptake of the production of green hydrogen, for example. But this is also true for other low carbon low carbon fuels for shipping, based on biomass. There's a wide diversity of potential fuels for shipping. So it's really huge opportunities also that exist. IMO will be here to support and also support the implementation of these measures, where we need these measures to be in place across the world, and we cannot accept to have regions that are badly served in this regard. So many thanks for having me today. Sorry, I have to jump to another event, but Marco has my details. I'm very happy to connect. I'll be also here in Baku tomorrow, so in case any of you want to have some interaction, we can meet in the corridors later during this COP. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the event.
thank you, Camille, for your time, and then we can keep in touch. Okay, so now that I want to go back to the what I wanted to do with the Slido, with the panelists. Now by the way, now we have the Stefano from the EU. He's joining now for us. So welcome Stefano. I give you for a later time. So now they are together with the Pete, I believe. So can you move to the slide again? Number 6. Yes. So let's have the 30-second for the audience to answer, please. So for this question, the African country was the first to launch a national initiative for the promotion of the electric vehicles as part of its climate action plan? 30 seconds. Okay. Is it working? Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, done. Okay, Morocco is the first. Okay, then how can I show the answers? Answer is Morocco, but I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to show the answer. But okay, so now Pete. So I want to put the comment, but also you're free to speak on this. But
does this microphone work?
Yes, it's work. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I think shall I tell you the correct answer? I think it is Morocco.
Yes.
It is Morocco.
Yes,
so
it is.
The audience is right. Okay, well done. So yeah, I mean, this is it's great to see countries starting to put in place these initiatives. I mean, to actually achieve that, they're going to have to overcome 3 major challenges. I just wanted to briefly talk about. Mm-hmm. The first is infrastructure. So developing resilient grids, roads, and charging infrastructure. To help with this, I mean, this is going to require investment, but to help with this, the UK-funded High Volume Transport Programme, working with SLOCAT and WRI, have produced a policy guide, which was launched on Monday and is going to provide evidence-based strategies to help unlock climate finance for transport. The second challenge is intermittency, so sort of fluctuations in supply of renewable energy. And the key solution here is going to be smart grids and storage. And what's going to be vital for delivering that is going to be developing technical expertise and building capacity. So under the Zero Emissions Rapid Reaction Facility, the UK is supporting Kenya, which is on the list but was not first. But the UK is supporting Kenya to develop a charging infrastructure curriculum, and also a grid readiness tool for Nairobi. And these tools will help to build that technical expertise, but they're also, what we're hoping is that they will, even though they're specific to Kenya and Nairobi, they will be replicable across other countries and city regions as well. And then the third challenge is awareness and understanding to drive adoption of zero-emission vehicles. But across all of these challenges, the evidence base is really key, and so there's a couple of programs that the UK has been supporting. So under the High Volume Transport Programme, they've been developing a transport decarbonisation index, which helps countries to assess their readiness for EV adoption. And the Climate Compatible Growth has also launched a policy brief on Monday, which looks specifically at energy modelling in sub-Saharan Africa to develop place-specific solutions. So I think we're hoping that these will help also to contribute to that evidence base that's needed.
All right, great. Thank you, Pete. We as AFDB, we are already joining this, you guys, the working group, and then we are happy to continue the working together, to promote EVs in Africa, starting from Kenya. Thank you so much, Pete. Let's give him applause. Okay, now so maybe again it's a bit time is not with us. So let me move to the now invite let me invite the Coletta to come over here, and then let's move to the next one. Julian, can we move to the question 8? Skipping the 7 and then now go to the 8. So yeah, the question for you, Coletta. You have here. Coletta, here, in front. Yes. So now the audience, the floor is yours to click. The question next, what type of the vessel are commonly used for inland water transport in Africa and Azerbaijan? So you have 30 seconds to answer, please. Okay. Okay, 60. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, let's finish. So, okay, so the majority, okay, goes to the tankers and the barges. I think this is the correct one. Okay. By the way, this is the Q&A is based on the AI. So I just give you the disclaimer. So doesn't mean that this answer doesn't mean that real the correct one. But I just wanted to on the table to discuss with this base, and then we want to hear from each the expert. So Coletta, now you have a floor to give this the comment on this question. And then also if possible, that maybe you may want to introduce what you're doing, some relevant activity. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I think as the answer tells itself, the type of vessels that are commonly used in underwater transport in both. Okay, maybe I know more of Africa is tankers and barges. And I think it's because of what are the users, what activities that are there, and that triggered the type of the vessel that are used. So mostly you find you have people, of course, who will be moving from one point to another, especially in inland waters. Most activities that are taking place is fishing, some small trades that from one point to another. If I talk on Lake Victoria, is more moving maybe from Jinja to Mwanza to Bukoba, that is the same country. But you find these are more triggered business in that area. But when you come to how do we decarbonize, I think because you are talking about decarbonizing the transport sector, of course we have so many challenges.
Okay, that's the next question.
Oh.
No, let's move to the next question.
Okay.
Okay, can we go, Julian, can we go to number 9? Oh, okay. Okay, the 30 seconds, colleagues, the audience, the vote. Challenge. Challenge regarding the inland water transport. Okay, 10 more seconds. Lack of navigational infrastructure and maintenance. Political instability affecting trade route, ice-blocked waterways in winter, overcrowding on the port. Okay, time is up. Okay, I'm not sure which is correct. Maybe one or two. First one, second one, maybe both correct. But give you a floor, Coletta.
Yeah. Okay. To my experience, I think is the lack of navigation infrastructure and maintenance. Basically, because most of the infrastructure are being invested by our countries, which I think, as the Honourable Minister mentioned, if we leave everything to the countries to invest without bringing everybody on board, making a conducive environment for private sector to come in and invest, then countries will not be able to to invest in the required infrastructure and also maintenance, because this business is not, some private sector, they don't see it as a paying off, so not willing to invest in it. So you find most of our infrastructures are very old. They need to be maintained. They need to be rehabilitated, but you don't find enough investment in it because you have left everything for the governments to invest. So I think we need to create a conducive environment, good policies, legal frameworks, maybe with the multilateral banks to support private sector in terms of de-risking in the investment. Also, countries can provide some incentive, like maybe incentivize, like tax waiver for some of the equipments and some of the investment. But again, to have appropriate policies and legal framework in place. If I give example, when we want to decarbonize, if I can give example of the something like going green, and you find the entire system is not promoting the green investment, and you find you have like the policy that is basing on one sector, but another sector, for example, procurement, green procurement is not emphasized, then you not get people to invest in those green infrastructure. So I think it's a holistic approach that is required, and for both the government, private sector, and communities to put in, to put the joint together to ensure we have the proper infrastructure, and also maintenance, but also promote the blue economy where people are also benefiting, not just have to transport goods from one point to another, but making the really business and increase the purchasing power of the people and communities around. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Coretta. We keep talking, and then since last COP28, and then this year also you invited me for your session on inland water transport. I strongly believe that this is the hidden, the green transport, you know, and then we have a huge opportunity to make it happen, and then which is a very the key driver for the particularly landlocked countries, you know, to grow.
Sure.
So let us target the COP30 and in Brazil, and then against the IDB colleagues, and then let us make it Africa forever.
Sure.
You know, this is a very, very important sector.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let me move to the next. I haven't properly introduced Stefano. So Stefano is Stefano Saino, head of the climate change and sustainable energy nuclear safety directorate at the DG for the international partnership European Commission. So first let me go to the Slido. Julian, can we move the question number 10, please? So next question is the number 10. Which of the following is a major challenge for the widespread adoption of the sustainable aviation fuel in Africa? Sorry, Stefan, this is we put in the question aviation, but for you. But so give the audience the 30 seconds to answer first, please. Okay, now split the vote. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's see that.
All of the above?
Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, time is up. Okay, now which one's the first one? Okay, limited access to feedstock for biofuels. Yes, I think yes, this is the correct answer, but could be some others as well. So I give floor to Stefano if you have a comment on this.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation to this panel, and let me thank the African Development Bank for organizing it, and the Honorable Minister from Burundi for his inspiring word at the beginning. I think, in fact, many of those answers can be true, because we know that for sustainable aviation fuel there is still a quite significant green premium, which means that there is an additional cost which is added compared to traditional, let's say, fossil fuel. And in the absence of, let's say, compulsory target and so on, you don't necessarily have, let's say, sufficient demand from aviation companies. Still, I think that there is a push for bigger use of sustainable aviation fuel in the years to come. And once, let's say, the quantity will be such that will trigger economy of scale, then we will see more and more, let's say, demand from the companies, but also more push from regulators and, let's say, the whole aviation industry to, in fact, be greener and make use of sustainable aviation fuel. On our side, we are already engaging in a number of projects which support, let's say, the introduction of sustainable aviation fuel in the aviation industry, and this also benefits some African countries. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Stefano. Yeah, actually, that's the reason why we already working with your colleagues from Interpol team, so that's why I gave you the floor, the aviation space. But I have a little bit time, so move to the 11. A little bit, this is a trivia question. So, but, you know, the number 11 is what is the primary feedstock for the first commercial the sub-production, the project in Africa, launched last year in Kenya. So I'll give you the 30 seconds. Coffee waste, corn, njatoloba, and then palm oil. 50 seconds. Seconds. Okay, time is up. So, okay, majority is coffee waste. I think that's correct. Do you have any comments, Stefano, on this?
Well, I think that, of course, many feedstock can be used. Then it depends on the economics of it, because it has to be also viable from an economic point of view. Mm-hmm. So in those cases, of course, one has always to distinguish a pilot phase where you have to test the approaches, and then when you go to scale, which means also being able to rely on sufficient, let's say, supply of the feedstock. Mm-hmm. In a way which is sustainable, which means that you don't alter, let's say, the underlying balance in the sector. This is the same problem with biomass for energy production and so on. So of course it is good if it promotes a circular use of resources, but then you need to see how much you can make of it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I think it's interesting and important to understand what kind of contribution these, let's say, products from the agricultural activities, how they can contribute to the production of alternative fuels.
Yeah, actually, I know that this is done by our other MDB colleagues, but the FDBs, we are following that. Then by working with ICAO on doing the feasibility study now in 3 countries. And so we are also now the pilot stage, but I think this is and then we need to, as you said, we need to see the balance between agriculture production per se versus the even renewable energy, same thing, but how we can make the most of this agriculture product. That's the very important thing. Okay, thank you very much, Stefano. Let me move to the next. So Lucy, can you come over here? So let's move to the hard domain, which is railway, with a question. Julian, could you go to the next question, 12? So, question number 12. What is the primary cargo transported by rail in both Africa and Central Asia? Proposed answer is oil and gas, agricultural product, coal and minerals, manufactured goods. So 30 seconds.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I think I know.
Okay. Wait a second. 15 seconds.
Well, we heard we talked earlier how only 2% of the cargo moving in Africa is going by rail at the moment. So there's 98% going on road and I guess some on inland waterways, right? But
Okay, so time is up. So majority vote went to the coal and mineral.
Yeah.
So you think this is correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay.
I think you're right partly because they're the heavy thing. So and it's usually by ton, so it always looks like the biggest because of the heavy tonnage that comes through minerals and fossil fuels being moved.
Okay. Yeah, we FDB, when promoting the regional corridor and with rail. Yes, this we try to synergize. There's the investment in the minerals, and so this is I think a correct answer. So let's move to the next question number 13, please. Julia. Eh? Okay, it's me. So next question is which of the following is a major challenge facing the expansion of the railway networks in both Africa and Central Asia? The answer: the lack of the natural resources, political instability, limited demand for transportation.
Looks like we have a favorite already.
Overpopulation in urban centers.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 more seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, time
like
is up. So, is that correct? Do you think this is the most
I mean,
major challenge?
Well, it's certainly a challenge, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not true that we don't have demand for transportation, right? And especially with the free trade for Africa, we've seen that the demand for inter-African transportation is going to rocket. So it's certainly not limited demand. There's a demand to move cargo and passengers, and overpopulation of urban areas is a reason to invest in railways. I mean, we're talking about if you can introduce passenger rail and metro and light rail and other public transport, you can really tackle the issue of urban overpopulation, but have that and prevent urban sprawl by having that dense public transport where people can use public transport, walk and cycle, rather than having to use cars and bring that congestion and air quality issues that come with really big busy cities, right? So I think investment in public transport is a reason to help with the urbanization and prevent private motorization.
Yeah. By the way, this Lucy, we talk about the actual financing side. Unfortunately, I didn't bring the right question for you, but even Minister mentioned about the importance of the finance.
Yeah.
And maybe you could introduce what you guys do. I know particularly the carbon credit and an Article 6 issue, etc. That we know that you guys are very much focused on that, and particularly yourself is expert on that. I think that is a very key for the success for the railway finance.
Yeah, I think so. So last year we launched a study on low-income countries and lower middle-income countries globally, majority of which, of course, are in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia and Latin America. And we looked at the real potential for railways across those countries. And if we were to move that 2%, the modal shift we have now, to say 8%, which is the best in class for low middle income countries. So India have that kind of modal share already. Then you're quadrupling your modal share, and we're talking about 1.8 gigatons of carbon savings by 2050 in that kind of. So it's not small, you know. And even though it sounds like 2 to just 8%, that's quadrupling, and that's talking about 180,000 kilometers more railway. So getting that density up of interurban, and another 12,000 in urban light rail and metro and suburban rail, so that we can get that density up, we can get that modal shift over, and the avoided emissions, basically from road to rail, is huge. And so there's every reason why we must use the carbon markets to take advantage of that, because that's not loans, it's real money. Right? It's not money that you have to pay back. It doesn't come with strings, except that you just have to demonstrate and monitor and have the right measurements and expertise to tap into these carbon markets. And so we heard last week the announcements around Article 6.4, which now brings, hopefully soon, multilateral opportunities for carbon markets, particularly in those in African countries that are in lower or lower middle income countries. It's a huge opportunity. There's already the 6.2 is allowing multilateral exchanges, and there's many African countries that are already registered to benefit from that. And so really rail has not yet really taken advantage of this, but it could, because there's 3 methodologies under that were used under the Kyoto Protocol that can be transferred into the Article 6 process. That's high-speed rail, it's cargo modal shift, and it's mass transit in cities. And they're the 3 huge opportunities, and we think they're good methodologies that we want to transfer into Article 6. So that's what we're sort of advocating for as we get to the details and mechanisms of Article 6 during the COP. So there's a huge opportunity, I think, for African railways to get into this.
Do you really think that it's realistic in Africa? And then, if so, which or where to start?
Yeah, so I think we need to get the mechanisms right, and we need to work in these spaces to make sure that Africa can take advantage of this. We need early consideration in the feasibility study. So when you're doing early feasibility studies, think about it right at the very beginning. And also, you need to have it in your NDCs. So your NDCs you're reviewing and updating now. Your unconditional ones talk about what you're going to do to decarbonize your transport, but for the also do conditional NDCs and say, you know, with this extra finance, climate finance, carbon markets, we can deliver X more railways, which will give you X more modal shift, which will give you X more carbon savings, and so you can sell that internationally if it's in your conditional NDC. So get it in your conditional NDC, and it will really help to unlock that.
Okay. Personally, very much interested, but time is up. So thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you very much. Applause. Okay, so let's move next. Is Ricardo? Can you come up here? So Ricardo from the IRENA. So we're talking with IRENA how we can develop a little bit different angle from others. You know, that we are looking at from our point of view as a transport team is mobility, and how we can decarbonize the mobility. You know, namely towards the electric vehicle, and IRENA is the one that who more like a policy. The advocate, in early stage. So we try to work together, on how to promote, the establishment of the EV, the value chain in Africa. So okay, before hand over the Ricardo, I have the question number 14 to the audience. So question is, which of the following is considered the biggest challenge to promote a zero-emission vehicle in Africa? So you have the audience has the 30 seconds. Lack of renewable energy infrastructure, high demand for fossil fuel vehicles, insufficient government incentive, low population density in African country. So 10 more seconds. Okay, time is up. I think answer is the because I have you, so I think the answer is renewable energy. But I'll give you a floor, Ricardo.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I would say this lack of renewable energy infrastructure is really one of the important aspects, no, that we definitely would need. And yeah, I would go with that. Yeah, but some kind of incentives, also are important. But yeah, definitely there is this renewable aspect that, of course, would like to go with renewable, no, renewable energy. But let me bring a little bit of what you mentioned on what we're doing in IRENA. So,
yes, please.
Yeah, so we are working in Africa with what we call this renewable energy transition outlooks. We are developing now 5 in Africa. So we are very happy to engage with these Africa countries on that endeavor. And the idea is to try to understand what are the transition pathways. So basically, what's the decarbonization possibilities in different sectors. And of course, I'm not going to explore the other sectors, but transport is a key aspect, as was presented in the first question. And just let me bring some numbers. I think this is really interesting. When we look at the huge potential of Africa, I think we are amazing looking at that. And just to bring these numbers. So in terms of the activity level, if we take the level of development around plus 7% of GDP growth, it's not an absurd. You need to multiply more than 5% by 2050. 5 times by 2050 the activity level needs. So we're talking about in 30 years, let's say, to have a completely new I would say landscape, no? If you want really to bring the proper level of development needed. So this brings us to the huge opportunity. And I think we would like to explore from that perspective. And there, jumping to the specific topic here, electrification is really key, no? One of the drivers in IRENA that we understand are important. One of the drive is important is the electrification. Of course, energy efficiency is important. The direct use of renewables, including the discussion here in biofuels in SAF. So we could explore that as well as opportunity in Africa. But electrification is really something very, very important as part of this combination of benefits. And here is the key word. We need to look at the perspective of the people. No, what's the benefits that this kind of, I would say, strategy would benefit? And there is the topic where you can, look at the potential, of course, of renewable energy infrastructure. So we're talking about, solar, of course, is one of the key, but there is also a combination of integration in terms of hydro, in terms of wind that you can combine, biomass. And there you develop, of course, the infrastructure that is needed. So you promote the demand and the infrastructure that is needed. And then, of course, we're talking about also the value chain. So from, two-wheelers to buses to you can develop in Africa, by Africa. So the technology is I would say, not too complicated. You can customize, no? This value chain in terms of the equipments, so we have very interesting cases already happening. So it's developing in a way. So you look at the perspective of the uses, but also in terms of the industrialization aspect. This is very important, very important.
I totally agree.
I know the bank is committed to that. And then, of course, we need to look at the energy planning that is part of the equation. No? By energy planning, I mean the infrastructure planning. No? So we are also working in supporting the continental master plan in Africa to try to connect all these different corridors and the possibility to scale up renewables. But definitely, this is something important in terms of the de-risking elements. So, by the way, I would like to mention also in the G20 Brazilian presidency, we as IDINA, we developed a joint paper with the Brazilian National Development Bank. As you mentioned, I'm from Brazil, so I would like to also mention that there is an important element here, that is the energy planning component supporting the risking process. And here, there are very important topics that the investors usually look when developing a project. And then, if the policymakers, they look at these topics and they address all these elements, I think all the billions that we are talking about here, they would be made available. I think that's an important aspect to be considered. I invite you to have a look on this paper that is in the web. So it's like Brazil did this mapping of the risking elements and how we managed to scale up the renewable power and also other infrastructure elements. So, and I also would like to emphasize again that we are talking about here the Africa developing its own possibilities, its own power. So the reality is development. I think this is the key drive. And all the technologies, they just would fit if they bring the development that is required for Africa.
Yeah, I think Ricardo is very fully aligned. What you said and our activity. When it comes to the transport regional corridor that we are developing, we're not looking at only to make it just transport corridor, but it's an economic regional corridor by adding the industrialization element. And when it comes to these critical minerals that Africa has, huge potential. And I was very impressed with DG in the Clean Energy Working Group in Fort Iguazu, where I was there together with him. And then he emphasized that that Africa is just missing the opportunity. Yes. So we as a FDB, we would love to the partner with African countries to establish the Africa, by African made, the whole value chain of the critical mineral supply value chain, or the EB, the value chain. Africa is just missing. You have early stage. You have a critical minerals. You already have a manufacturing. Downstream already the pretty much advanced. But the missing middle is nothing. You don't want to just export to China, US, Japan, and then bring it back. It's already added value. So Africa is losing the opportunity. So we are very much keen to partner with you guys, and you from policy aspect, and we put the money on it, and we are looking for the private sector to work with us, to really make it happen. So that is actually one of the top priority of the bank now that we are considering. This is go beyond the transport, but we are working within the bank as a one bank, and to make it happen. This is a huge opportunity for Africa. Thank you so much, Ricardo. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's move to the next. So maybe some of you could you change the seat? We have a limited the seat. So next, Tony, please come over here. So Tony is our big boss for the climate change and the green growth of the African development. So he. I really wanted to ask you about taking this opportunity. I give you a little bit challenging question, but yeah, before going to the Tony, let us do just one question, please. Number 16, please. Julian, or it's me. Okay, thank you. So the question is which of the following is a key barrier for African countries to access international climate finance for the transport adaptation project? Which of the following is a key barrier for African country to access international climate finance for transport adaptation project? So the audience, you have 30 seconds to answer. Lack of the reliance data on climate, the risks in the transport sector. Lack of the local currency financing, political instability in many African countries, poor regional connectivity for cross-border transport projects. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, time is up. So the majority vote went to the lack of the reliable data on climate risks in transport sector. I think this is the correct answer. But I give the floor, Tony. You have a floor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marco, and thanks everyone for this. I think these are all correct answers. You know, they all contribute. But let me look at the climate finance. The first thing people look at when investing in Africa is the concept of risk. Mm-hmm. And this is perceived risk, I can tell you, is really unfounded risk. And that really is a great impediment to people financing here. And so what is it that we need to do? We need to change the narrative. We don't encourage private sector participation in addressing whether it's climate change mitigation or adaptation. The reason being that when we speak about Africa ourselves, what we say is Africa is the most vulnerable, the most incapacitated, the most risky. That's not the language the private sector wants to hear. Private sector wants to hear opportunities, and there are enormous opportunities, like you have said, on the African continent. And if we do not promote those opportunities, you've talked about the critical minerals. 40% of it is in Africa. 65% of cultivable land is still in Africa. The youthful population, the demand, the growth, there's a lot that needs to be done here. Mm-hmm. But then also looking at the climate finance institutions themselves, these are very complicated institutions. Most times, it takes you 3-4 years to submit a proposal to when you get funding. By the time it comes on, the project has moved on, or it's no longer feasible. You know, how do we simplify these processes to allow people to have access to the resources that they need? I'll give you an instance. We have Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund, we have Global Environment Facility, we have Green Climate Fund, Climate Investment Funds. Each of these requires its own, investment plan. Mm-hmm. Why do 4 investment plans in a country? Because you want to access money. At the African Development Bank, it took us 2.5 years to get accredited to the Green Climate Fund. So I can imagine those who don't have such capacities, what they will be facing. So what is it that we're doing at the African Development Bank to help this? We established what we call the Africa Financial Alliance on Climate Change, and that brings together all the key players in Africa's finance sector to help them direct their investments to be in line with the goals of the Paris Agreement. Insurance companies, national development banks, sovereign wealth funds, name them, the central banks, everyone who brought them in. And we're beginning to see these institutions now giving money to the green to green investment that they never did before. Rwanda, we helped with IRENA, you know, and those are the sort of things that we're doing. We are doing that now in 5 other countries. And then we are also helping countries to build their own capacities to access climate funds. Very few African countries have direct access to the Green Climate Fund. And the few that have not submitted any single successful proposal on this. So we're helping countries to get them accredited and helping building their capacities to develop it, including in this renewable energy space or in infrastructure space. So we find that very useful. We've also launched recently what we call the Climate Action Window that directs resources only to Africa's low-income countries. Climate finance does not go to those who need it. It goes to those who have the capacity to develop good proposals, bankable proposals, and so on. And who are those that suffer this? It is those low-income countries that don't have. So we've set up this. It's not much. It's $440 million, which 75% goes to adaptation, but only for the low-income countries. And then 15% goes for mitigation. So we have talked about infrastructure, renewable energy, not only as an issue for mitigation, but strongly for adaptation. Because you build your resilience when you have electricity. There are a lot of things that could happen. And then we've devoted 10%, which we launched last week, to technical assistance. How do we help countries to build their capacities? How do we help you with data? How do we help you with developing scenarios, climate scenarios? How do we help you with looking at your physical and transitional risks in your proposals? So we have that money available for African countries to apply and tap into this. And we believe that those would also help. Finally, we think that domestic resource mobilization is very important. Most times we talk about climate finance as that money that comes from the north towards the south. But African countries are spending humongous amount of money from their own budgets to address these issues, and they don't come up. How do we work with you to tease out what it is you're putting into this sector to put it on the table when going to get climate funds? So it's important. And part of that, what we are doing, apart from the building the capacities of local banks to generate income, is on subsidy reforms. It is a very sensitive topic. People have lost elections because of subsidy removals, and so on. So it's very sensitive everywhere, but it must be done. And must be done in a way that can free up resources to put in EVs in the transition. And I also urge our developing country partners. Africans are runners. We know how to run. We can run through a transition. But what is asked of us is not to run through a transition, but to leap. Leaping is difficult. Help these countries to run through that transition. What can they use today that can give way tomorrow to the next day after that would allow us to say, yes, we have decarbonized. But if where we are, a poor country sitting on his own, and you tell him decarbonize, that's the only way you can move on, he stays there because he knows he cannot leap. Finally, carbon markets. We've talked about carbon markets here, is very fine. Africa currently has relied on selling its abundant natural resources, the forests, the trees, as carbon finance. It's not right. This is one of the greatest disservices that we're doing to ourselves. When you sell that carbon, you sell the tree, you sell the land, you sell everything, the rights of local communities to access that resource. And so at the African Development Bank, we're setting up this facility, Africa Carbon Support Facility, to help African countries make sense of the carbon market. What is it that needs to be invested that can earn carbon credit rather than just sell our forests and sell our biodiversity? So Marco, thank you very much for
it's
the
very
opportunity.
interesting. Thank you very much, Tony. Next time I want to hear from you more about why transport sector cannot get the money from the climate funds. But maybe I want the talk about next. Oh, you want to talk? Maybe 1 second. Yes.
Why is the transport sector not getting so much of this? There are governance issues.
Okay.
Where does, we talk about the freight, we talk about this. The individuals, the cars we drive, we are the culprits. Why are we still stuck into driving our own cars and so on? The best way to decarbonize the transport industry in the urban center always is bicycle. You see that in the Nordic countries. Minister, if somebody sees you riding your bicycle now through Bujumbura to work, I'm sure everybody will be walking. What's wrong with this man? Is he all right? Because the mindset is not there yet. We do not just jump, take what has worked in Europe and bring it to Africa and say, this is what must work here. It doesn't happen. It doesn't depend on you alone. The Minister of Works needs to design the road in a way that can allow that to happen. The Minister of Water Resources, how do we have that policy coherence amongst all the ministries to show that this is where we are heading to? So that needs to be important. And then two, we don't produce electric vehicles I don't know who does it, whether Rwanda does it. We're talking about technology transfer, not technology dumping. Come to my country, set up a manufacturing plant for electric vehicles. Everybody will clap for you, and we will adopt it. But if you manufacture it and send it to us, that's your dumping technology on us. We don't know anything about it. What happens to the mechanics who are used to doing carburetors, who are used to do this? What becomes of them? Because the electric vehicle does not need it. We don't plan ahead and say, in taking this technology, in adopting this, we've already planned ahead for the consequences that will come in. And so people frown when we don't adopt these technologies. We can't. In Europe, I don't need $70,000 to buy a car. I need 5. I need 4. I deposit and I pay monthly. We don't have such facilities at home. And so we are the dumping ground for used vehicles because it's cheaper than the alternative. And as long as that continues, we will continue to fund and subsidize fossil fuels. Thank you, Marco.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tony. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so we have the last 7 minutes left. I wanted to bring a minister back and then to wrap up. Okay, let me see which question is I wanted to ask you, but maybe I go to the Julian question. Can you project question number 19, the last one? Thank you. Last question about the regional corridors. How do you see the balance between the regional transport corridor development and transport decarbonization in landlocked countries in Africa and Asia? I put in a little bit complicated the answers, but the audience, do you have a floor for 30 seconds, or maybe it's complicated, so maybe 1 minute to answer. The question that I made is, developing the infrastructure, how you can see the coexist or the balance between infrastructure development and the decarbonization, in particular in the landlocked countries. Okay, so far majority develop the regional transport corridors with integrated renewable energy sources and low emission transport technology, ensuring that the new projects are designed with the sustainability goal. Yes, I think, I meant that this is the correct answer, but I give you floor the minister.
Yeah, thank you very much once again, Marco. I think this is a straightforward answer. I buy into this. Unless we do develop regional corridors and integrate them within the economic corridor context and make our interventions as inclusive as possible, as I said, otherwise we cannot always be copying and pasting solutions that may have worked elsewhere. It's not sure if they should work for Africa. So I think this is the correct answer. In addition to this, and I believe the previous panelists shed the light really on how, as the continent, we should go about it. Resources are there, policy are being improved and enhanced. But I think we should applaud really the leadership from the African Development Bank, because at a time where people were arguing on whether or not we need railway infrastructure, we saw the bank, African Development Bank, coming as a leader in supporting some of the standard gauge railway developments. The role of the bank on the Central Corridor, SGR in Tanzania, Burundi, Congo, and the other countries, the role of the bank in other countries is really showing that although this may look like a risky investment, but in the long run, we have no alternatives. And I believe it is very important that the bank comes on board, that the bank also provides these facilities for countries to access to climate finance. We have just recent. It's not an easy process, but we appreciate the African Development Bank for setting up a mechanism to bring and facilitate countries to access to these fundings. And in addition to that, I think the economic corridor concept is very important. It's not about building a transit infrastructure. It's about ensuring that along the corridor or within the vicinity of the routes, there are feeding businesses in the mining, in agro-processing, industrial parks, and we do agree as a countries that we cannot make that or alone or from our balance sheets, but we are open for the private sectors to really come on board. We are ready, and we have been setting up policies that really de-risk investment. And when it comes to the infrastructure operations or to the transport services operations, I think there is this shift also that the private sector should play a key role. While the government put in place infrastructure, the risk the same, but we should be open, and we have started to do this. And in any new undertakings, be it in the metro project I talked about, in the railway, we will be only putting a facility for the private sector to come and do business, because then they can even approach the commercial banks. If someone needs to buy like a rolling stock or any facilities, technology, digital, they can even access to financing from the commercial banks. While for the basic infrastructure, the most expensive one, we are really looking forward to cooperating with you guys to make this happen and reach the continental agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. As you know that we as FDB, we are really focusing on how the African transport corridor make it as a economic the regional corridor by integrating all the aspect from not only for the transport but from the energy, agriculture, water, all kinds of surrounding the corridor, and then to make it the maximize the value of the corridor for the economy. And this last comment from my side is a little bit advertisement for the next, but within the 2 weeks time we will have the African Investment Forum in Rabat, I think 4 to 6. And then I myself, actually, I'm leading the president at the session of the regional corridor development. So this is exactly the one that that we are talking about, how the regional corridor make it the economic one, and having the private sector. That is a very, very key, for the success. So we are inviting the key the private sector player on the continent. And then together with all the actual heads of states, we are inviting all the. I think one of the corridor focus at this time AIF is actually Lobito corridor. So we are having all the presidents from the 3 countries. Now is Tanzania also joined. So 4 countries, all the heads of states will be joining our the plenary regional corridor the session on, I think, on the 6th of the December, last day. Unfortunately, Minister, you cannot make it. I heard, but maybe we continue talking on the Central Corridor and other. That we definitely we would love to work together. So thank you. To wrap up, so now it's time. I think I tried to cover all the subsector of the transport. Of course, we cannot cover everything and just in 90 minutes, but at least. We can give you some flavor of what is the key issue and then what the opportunity available, and to follow up, and we'll wrap to work together with you guys, and of course, Minister is Burundi is one of the most important the partner for us. So let us continue working together. As such, thank you very much for joining in the morning time, and we have the next session. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.